Okay. Um, I believe you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. Just want to be sure. Okay. All right. Let's get straight into it. Like Michael said, I just want to welcome you guys one more time. We're excited. So even though we couldn't make it to Miami, Florida this weekend, let's try to make the best of our time. First of all, you guys have taken from my time. I'll try to see what I can do. Cut whatever I can. Okay, all right. So we're going to be talking about Azure Services overview. And first of all, let me tell you this. Azure Service, overview of Azure Services, believe me, is not something we can do within 1 hour, not even within 2 hours or even more. Okay, so we're not doing all of Azure Services. But what I have done here is that I went ahead and looked for some of those services that I know as database engineers, this will definitely be useful to you. Okay, so this we're going to be talking about out of the several Azure services. We're just going to be talking about a few of them. Okay, of course, you already got the introduction. I don't like to talk about myself. But yeah, my name is Moses Efretue, popularly known as Moses Effort. Okay, I won't talk much about myself, but let's talk about the agenda for today, for this session. So this session, we're going to be talking about platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and serverless. We're going to talk about Azure Active Directory services, Azure Load Balancer, Azure Media Services, Azure Data Storage, Azure Service Bus, Azure Data Factory, and Azure Site Recovery. We'll talk about some of them. We'll do demos. Some of them, the time will not allow us to do demo. Okay. Now, I don't want to jump into this immediately without giving some of you that are new into this a little bit foundation of what this is really about. Now, most of you, especially some of the new student people in class 13 specifically, what you guys know is on-premises SQL Server, meaning that you just have your SQL Server database in a physical location or an Hyper-V or a VMware, but these are all known as on-premises SQL Server, okay? So Azure, it's a cloud computing. It's a cloud service, and it's not just at Microsoft that is providing this service. We have other cloud service providers. We have AWS, like you know. We have Google Cloud Platform, like you know, and we have some other ones that are not that are just within their space, like iCloud. It's part of the cloud services, and people buy and store their information, you know, if they're using any Apple product and others. But these are the top leaders in cloud services. All right, so Microsoft for Azure, Amazon AWS, Amazon Web Service, and of course, Google Cloud Platform. These are the three leaders in the market. Google, they are really, really coming up in their cloud computing, okay? So we are going to be talking about Microsoft Azure because most of us here, we are Microsoft professionals, okay? So now, and before we go deeper, it's also important to give you guys a little further foundation than what I've said, talking about the cloud infrastructure and the services and the providers. Now, in Azure, we have different services in Azure, which are going to be talking about some of them or some of the popular ones or the ones that I personally feel, you know, we will is important for us to know. Of course, no knowledge is lost or a waste, so it's important for us to know as much as we can. Now, it's important for
Sorry. Hello, Moses. Sorry.
yes,
Just
sir.
sorry for the interruption. This is just a suggestion,
Yeah.
just getting some feedback. Um, do you think that for every presenter that is going to be talking, their video should be on? Some people like the situation where,
Okay.
it's, yeah, sorry,
Okay.
just be interactive.
That's fine.
Just, just the
I can keep
presenter.
mine on. Okay, I can keep mine on.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So as I was saying, besides having the knowledge of the cloud infrastructure and all the providers, it's also important to know basic terminologies. All right. At the very minimum, we should understand the platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and the one that people don't talk about very often, called serverless. All right, it's important to know that. And also it's important to understand that in Azure, Azure generally it's a platform that allows you to pay for only what you use. All right, so you don't get to deal with all the infrastructure, the networking, the storage, the patching, some of the traditional things that we will do, in SQL Server on premises. We would not do that in Azure. And of course, Microsoft, in as much as we like Microsoft, we don't want them to charge us for what we are not using. So in the cloud, we have pricing tiers. We have the basic pricing tiers, the standard and the premium. Okay, so really depending on your workload, whatever you're doing, you can use this pricing tiers depending on your needs. And I'm not going to go there. All right, now I am assuming that everybody here, for you to understand what we are doing, you have at least a foundation, a background in database administration. It is an assumption. I may be wrong. This is supposed to be for people who are already practitioners or in the line or have gone through some kind of training, and they can understand, because there are certain things I won't go very detailed. That's why before I jump into my slide, that's why I'm explaining to you guys what you need to understand. What in the world is Azure? We understand Azure is cloud, Microsoft cloud services, where and we also have other providers, and we have different pricing tiers: the basic, the standard, and the premium, depending on your workload. And Azure get to manage everything for you, including backups. Yes, you heard me, including backups, including so many things that we used to do in on-premises. In Azure, it's not like that. All right, so I just wanted to give that foundation so we can understand and connect to it. All right, so without much ado, let's go straight into the agenda one more time. So we're going to start with the platform as a service, and then as part of that same agenda, we'll talk about infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and of course, we're going to talk about serverless. All right. So let's start with platform as a service. Platform as a service, basically, it's divided into three flavors, where we have the managed instance, the single and database, and of course, elastic pool. What does that mean? Managed instance is nothing but a SQL server or an infrastructure that looks like just what we have in your on-premises. You just lifted it as is. I mean, there's a process in doing that. And then you place it in the cloud and it works. It has, the same functionalities, most of them, if not all. Then you can manage it in the cloud. Of course, a single database is single database. It doesn't depend on any server. So some of you are used to instance. So when you're talking about a single database, it has nothing to do with instance. It's a database on its own. If you remember the concept of contained database, you will relate to this. Okay. And of course, elastic pool is nothing but some kind of services that Azure has provided us with, that enables us to be able to put databases that have similar use pattern, and of course, for you to put those databases into an elastic pool, you need to have monitored their use pattern and understand, how the work, that they don't all spike at the same time, so the elastic pool basically helps you to put those databases that are having similar usage. And then, if for any reason a particular database is spiking more than usual, you are able to, scale out. or you're able to remove even that database. But the benefit of Elastic Pool is just to be able to help you to pay for a single pool instead of paying for individual databases, as it were. So that's what that is. So platform as a service is really a complete development and deployment environment in the cloud. It provides the resources that enables you to deliver everything from simple app to sophisticated cloud-enabled enterprise application. You purchase the resources you need and pay as you go on a pay-as-you-go basis and access over a secure internet connection. Right. So why do we call it a pay-as-you-go? You only get to pay for what you use, right? That's what it means. It includes infrastructure like servers, storage, and networking. So you don't have to deal with all of that. Also, middleware, development tools, BI services, database management system, etc. Platform as a service allows you to avoid the expense and complexity of buying and managing softwares. All right. So platform as a service really, I'm going to do a quick demo, but not now. Once we're done with the first agenda of platform as a service, infrastructure and software, I'll quickly do a quick demo just to show you guys a few things and how the dashboard looks like, and we can take it up from there. All right. So like infrastructure as a service, which we're going to be talking about in a minute. So platform as a service include infrastructure service, storage and networking, and of course, like I said, also middleware. So it allows you to avoid expense and complexity of buying and making software licensing or managing software licensing. So it's important to take advantage of it with your understanding of which of this to go with. But now, for now, we already, of course, have a good knowledge of platform as a service. Let's talk about you get to manage the applications and services you develop. And the cloud service provider typically manages everything else. So some of the things that you will do by yourself, for example, patching, network related stuff, server level, instance level configuration, all those things, you don't get to do them. The cloud providers would do that for you. Of course, it has its own advantages. Let's talk about some of them. You get to cut the coding time, you spend time to do what matters, and add development capabilities without adding staff. Develop for multiple platforms, including mobile, more easily. Use sophisticated tools affordably. Support geographically distributed development teams. Efficiently manage the application lifestyle. So really, platform as a service, I don't want to waste so much time in it. When we're doing demo, you will understand that it gives you the benefit of managing your databases without having to deal with any kind of infrastructure. Okay, all right, let's move on. And of course, I'm going to be giving you guys time to be able to ask questions. Hopefully, we get to go through everything. All right, infrastructure as a service. It's an instant computing infrastructure. It's provision and managed over the internet. It's one of the 4 types of cloud services. Give me 1 second. Wish I can bring the screen somewhere. Yeah, that's why I don't like to use video. Okay, but if you guys can see me, that's fine. Okay, oops, it's covering something here. All right. Okay, all right. So infrastructure as a service is an instant computing infrastructure provision and managed over the internet. Infrastructure as a service quickly scale up and down with demand, letting you pay only for what you use. It helps you avoid the expense and complexity of buying and managing your own physical servers and other data center infrastructure. Each resource is offered as a separate service component, and you only need to rent a particular one for as long as you need. So infrastructure as a service, really, guys, if you know of your traditional VM, what you have in your on-premises, or you can use your remote desktop or a Hyper-V, and just connect to any virtual machine. So think about infrastructure as a service as, it's just what you're used to, a VM, that allows you to be able to connect, and from there you can install your SQL Server. You can manage things, just like you would do in your on-premises environment. Okay. Of course, it has its own advantages. It limits capital expense and reduces ongoing costs, improves business continuity and disaster recovery, innovate rapidly, respond quicker to shifting business conditions. What does that mean? If your business is growing rapidly, it is able to scale and grow along with your business. Of course, you get to focus on your core business and leave Microsoft to do the work for you. Increase stability, reliability, and supportability. Better security, yes. Better security. Get new app to users faster. All right. So that's it on infrastructure as a service. It's really a virtual machine that is hosted in the cloud. It's not complicated to understand. I'll try to keep it simple as much as I can. And like I said, I will show you guys a quick demo and just to see how the platform looks like. All right, so software as a service is another one. Software as a service really is nothing, it allows user to connect and use cloud-based applications over the internet. Common examples are emails, calendaring, and office tools such as Microsoft Office 365, Salesforce, etc. So if you have any Office 365 accounts, it means you already are using software as a service, because that's what it is. Okay, I'm going to show you guys an example. When you connect to your Office 365 portal, you will be able to see different applications, including other Office tools that you can download and use in your system. All right, so that is hosted. That is software as a service. That's an example of a software as a service. Software as a service provides a complete software solution that you purchase on, again, pay-as-you-go basis. You rent the use of an application for your organization, and your users connect to it over the internet. That's a good thing about Azure, guys. You get to connect using the internet to do whatever it is that you're doing. All the underlying infrastructure, middleware, app software, and of course, app data are in the service provider's data center. You don't get to see them, you don't get to touch them, you don't get to manage them. Microsoft manages that for you. Okay. Of course, just like the other ones, it has its own advantages, and it's important we understand some of the benefit. So the first one is gain access to sophisticated application. Gain access to sophisticated application. So to provide software as a service app to users, you don't need to purchase or install or update or maintain any hardware or middleware or a software. All right, so software as a service makes even sophisticated enterprise applications such as ERP and CRM affordable for organizations that lack the resources to buy, deploy, and manage the required infrastructure and software themselves. All right, so the other one is pay only for what you use. Pay only for what you use. So you also save money because the software as a service automatically scale up and down according to the level of your usage. So if you don't need any kind of resources, you don't pay for them. All right, it's there. And Microsoft, like I said, we like them, but we don't want them to charge us for what we're not using, right? All right. So the next one is use free client software. Users can run most software as a service app directly from their web browser without needing to download and install any software. All right. Although some app requires some kind of plugins, this really means that you don't need to purchase and install special software for your users. All right. So that's another benefit of that. Another one is mobilize your workforce easily. Get to mobilize your workforce easily. So software as a service makes it easy to mobilize your workforce because users can access software as a service apps and data from any internet connected computer or mobile devices, your mobile phone, your tablet, your whatever. So you don't need to worry about developing application to run on a different types of computer. All right. And of course, because the service providers has already done that for you. So you get to focus on the things that matters. All right. You don't need to bring special expertise on board to manage the security issues inherent in mobile computing. All right. So it is definitely a good deal, from the days of just having traditional on-premises SQL Server. Last but not the least in this category is access application data from anywhere. Of course, we've been talking about accessing over the internet. So with data stored in the cloud, users can access their information from any internet connected computer or mobile device. And when application data is stored in the cloud, no data is lost. If a user computer or computer device fails, if there's any catastrophic event, you know that you are safe. All right, let's move on. Azure SQL Database Serverless. Serverless is it's another interesting one. Basically, serverless is a compute tier for a single database in Azure SQL database that automatically scales compute based on workload or workload demand and bills for compute use per second. The serverless compute tier also automatically pauses databases during inactive period when only storage is billed and automatically returns databases when activity returns. Serverless compute tier is parameterized by a compute auto-scaling range and auto-pause delay. So really what this means is that the key benefit of serverless database is that it gets to monitor your system, understand when you are not using your database. All right. So during inactive time, it gets to pause it. I think that is incredible. It gets to pause it. And then when it notices that there is some kind of activity, it will resume the work. Okay. So that is really the key thing about serverless database. It helps you to be able to save money, because understanding that Azure will charge you for only what you use. So it makes a lot of sense, to take advantage of like serverless, which really gives you that flexibility to be able to, even when you are not doing the right work or the right job on your own, to be able to know when to remove a resource or resources and when to not use them. So with serverless, you get to pay for, Microsoft helps you to save money, so you don't pay unnecessarily. Okay. Of course, just like any other services, serverless also has its own lot of benefits. So no infrastructure management, dynamic scalability, faster time to market, more efficient use of resources. Now, I personally feel like one of the best things that this services offers is the cost effectiveness. The cost for serverless database is the summation of the compute cost and storage cost. So when compute usage is between the minimum and maximum limit configured, the compute cost is based on what we call vCore and memory use. All right. So when compute usage is below your set minimum threshold that you have configured, the compute cost is really based on the minimum vCores and of course minimum memory configured. All right. Also, when the database is paused, the compute cost is zero. You don't get to pay anything at that point. All right. So it is incredible. It's an amazing service that I believe people need to take advantage of even more. It's something that you can even recommend and take advantage of. All right. I'm always used to. And if you have a question, so you don't forget those questions, I will recommend that you either write it down or you can type your questions on the chat so that once we're done, we'll be able to go through them and then answer as much as time will permit us to answer. We really don't have a lot of time, but I will try as much as possible, to be able to, talk about or answer some of your questions. Okay. All right. So what do we have next? Okay. All right. So before we go to Active Directory, I want to quickly show you guys. I'll minimize my slide. All right. So for you to be able to access, and of course, this is for some of this very senior DBS here or engineers, please be patient when we're showing some of the basic things so that other people can also be on the same page with us. Okay. All right. So for you to use Azure, you can go to your browser and type portal.azure.com. And for you to use Azure, you need to subscribe. Okay. Right now you can don't do it right now. You can actually sign up for a free account and Microsoft would dash you $200. You're not going to cash the $200. Don't worry. You use the $200 on their product. Okay. So you need to have sign up an account. Just do portal, type on your browser, portal.azure.com, and you put your information. They will ask you to put your credit card, but I promise you, well, I'm not promising on behalf of Microsoft, but from personal experience, they will not charge you. Once you're free, your trial is expired, you will receive a notification where you can actually, convert your account from free or trial, whatever they call it, to pay as you go. Okay, so then that will be your choice. And really, if you want to grow in this, I tell people Azure, it's a matter of when, not if, you're going to eventually land in Azure environment or work in an Azure environment or having your company, companies generally move to the cloud. It's a matter of when, not if, because eventually everybody will be in the cloud. Somehow, right now, we are somehow in the cloud, in worst case scenario, using software as a service. So it's important we understand how this works. All right, so if you go to your Azure, portal.azure.com, you'll be able to, and then sign and put your basic information. You'll see what I'm seeing right now. This is my Azure portal. Everything is on the browser. All right. So initially, we're talking about platform as a service. Platform as a service, like we said, is just a database, not just a database. You get to deal from DBA perspective, you get to just manage your resources within your object level or database level without having to deal and worry about whatever is going on at the infrastructure level. So real quick, let's do a quick demo here. Let's create a resource. So if you go to add and say create resource, so let's say, for example, let's create a SQL database. Okay. All right. So to create a SQL database, or once you click on it, you type on the resource, create a resource, and click on the button that says create. The good thing about Azure is that it's pretty straightforward, guys. Trust me. All right. I already have this resource group. And what is resource group? Resource group is just like a logical grouping that helps groups all your resources within Azure together. All right. And one of the benefit of that is to help you with budgeting. Oh man, our time flies. All right. So I'm going to show you how to create a resource group. So in as much as I have one here, I'm going to create another one just to show you guys. Create new. I will call this one demo one or something. All right. If it's okay, you will see this green check. Click OK. I want to give it a name. Let's call this database TestDB. All right, TestDB. And of course, in as much as we don't deal with a server, you have to create a server just by clicking a button. All right. So here you have to select a server. If you have one right now, there's no server here. I have to create a new server, and it's as simple as ABC. So I give it a name. MPIT 2020, maybe something like that, if it accepts. Oh, good. All right, so you give it admin name. Someone help me. Admin name, I can, you know what? So I know this is a server. Okay, MPIT 2020 server. All right, so the admin, give it a name. This is it. This is the account that you will use in connecting to the resources that you are creating. So I will call this, I don't know if it will let me to call it user one. Okay, all right, accepted it. I'll just call it user one. Honestly, it's not a good thing. You will not do it bad. Okay, I call it MPIT admin. Yep, MPIT admin, and I'm giving it a simple password. You guys know what I'm laughing. Some of you know the password that I'm using, right? Our popular password, MPIT popular password. Okay, all right. So you have to provide the password, and also, of course, you need to select the location. And if you are in the East Coast or in Central USA, wherever you are, you want to make sure that you select a region that is close to you, because Azure, they have different data centers across the globe. So the closer your data center, you know, the better the performance, I believe. Yes, better the performance, because anyway, I don't want to explain that. There's no time. I have a lot of other things to talk about. All right, so quickly here, because I'm in Texas, I'm going to select US Central, click OK. All right, that is for my server, and then I can actually go next for other stuff that are not a requirement. If I don't go next here to click on networking, I can actually at this point just say review and create, and it will use default for everything. Because of time, I have a lot more to talk about. Because of time, I will just do review and create. All right, as you can see, it is submitting the deployment and deployment in progress. Once that is done, we should see our Azure database. All right, it's still deploying. All right, as you can see, it's already creating. So it's doing two things at a time. It's creating a database, which is primarily what we are doing in this demo. And at the same time, it's creating a server. So this is very elementary. I just wanted to show you guys so that some of you that, especially class 13, some of you that have not seen Azure environment, you know, you have an idea of how easy it is to use. In my own opinion, I feel Azure is actually complicated when you're talking about it. May sound complicated, but the actual work, in my opinion, is actually very easy and straightforward. All right, I can refresh it. I know it's still deploying. Once it's done, it's going to show deployment completed. There you go. Remaining this guy. One, I refresh it. That doesn't really help. Okay. All right, I don't want to wait for it. So while that is loading, so let's go back to, once it's done, we'll see it will show deployment complete successfully. But once that is loading, let's go back here since we don't have a lot of time. So I can go to, say, the resource group that I created. Remember, in just trying to create a database, I've created a resource group, I've created a server, and I've created a database. All right. So let's look for, all right, I think it's done here. It's done. So here, let's look for our resource group. You can type. The good thing about Azure is that you get to you can type anything that you're looking for. All right. So resource group. I have two resource groups. So this is the one that we just created, demo one. If you open it, you will see all the resources inside of it. MPIT server that we created is in here. If I click on it, I scroll down, I should be able to see the test DB that we created. Okay, and you can use it just like your regular on-premises, environment. You can write a query. You can create a table. You can create a table and do anything that you usually would do. Time doesn't permit me to really go into all of this, but you can do query editor right here. So for example, once I click on query editor on my left hand side here, and it will ask you for the password, provide the password. Obviously my password is not correct. MPIT admin, that's what I gave, right? Let me try it again. Oh man, it is the wrong password. Ooh. Yeah. Cannot open server. Login. Oh man. Let's go back here. Why? Actually, it's supposed to use the account that I created. Maybe I missed that password. Oh man, we don't have time for this. Right? That's how we called it. Oh, okay. All right. I'm gonna move on there. We don't have time to troubleshoot this. This is just I must have missed my password. And we have less than 30 minutes and I have still have a lot to talk about. Okay, however, this is a database. So if my credential was correct, which I'm not sure how I missed that, you would have been able to see a dashboard where you can actually run a query and do whatever you need to do. Okay. No, don't save that because I'm not sure. Another thing is that you can, if you open the actual database, let's go here, answer data security. And you can actually see right now, of course, I don't have anything in my database. That's why I'm seeing this compute utilization. So in a busy environment, you will see your CPU in percentage. You see the data IO in percentage, your log IO in percentage. You see how they are doing. If a particular database is spiking and it's using a lot of CPUs, then you know that that's an opportunity for you to do some kind of performance tuning, okay? All right. And also, if let's quickly do this real quick. Oh man, okay, you guys are not being fair to me, man. You guys give me such a short time. All right, so so that's an example of a platform as a service. You get to manage just the databases, and you can create an elastic pool. All of these things are easy, and you get to do focus on your database or the database level versus managing the infrastructure. Okay, what about infrastructure as a service that we talked about? So let's say we want to create Windows Server, say 2006. You know what? Let's go from here. Create a new resource. No, I don't want to create one window. I'm sure you guys know that we have different windows. Windows Server Data Center Edition. It's already here. Click on that. All right, so this is to create a VM. Remember, infrastructure as a service, the purpose of it is really a virtual machine that you can install, do whatever you want to do. Okay, I'm going to move fast here. Some of the things you will see here, I already explained them to you, like resource group, the instance detailed. This is going to be your virtual machine name. I will say 2020 VM. 2020 VM. If it's okay, if it's available, you'll see that check mark there. The region is US Central for me. No infrastructure redundancy required. If I want to select an availability zone, availability set, if I have multiple VM that I want to be managed within the same availability set or within the same subnet, I can put them here, but we don't want to do that. I just want to show you guys just basic how to, create a VM. Azure Spot instance, I leave it at default. The size, this is where you can, if you click on here, you can actually select the size of your of the VM. Of course, this is really depending on your usage. You can see what they will be charging you per month. So if you're doing a demo of this and just playing around, please remember to delete it, okay? All right, so you can do that, select any one, but I'm going to delete mine after this demo, so it doesn't matter. So I will select the standard V2 there, and I will provide a username again. Hopefully I don't have this problem. Okay. Oh, what's that? Maybe it was user one. MPIT user one. Okay, it's not allowing it. Okay, you know what? I have a favorite password here. I'll just say my password.
MPIT admin. That's what you used.
Yeah, that's the reason the other one. Yeah, but this is new. This is different. This is a VM. Okay, inbound pod rule. This is where you specify, where you want to connect some inbound. So by default, yes, well, it's not a default. So here you have different options. You have, if you want to use RDP, remote desktop connection, to connect to this VM, you can select that. You can also use Linux and connect to. You can connect to HTTPS and HTTP. I'm just going to leave it at RDP. And this will allow all IP addresses to access by VM, okay? And another thing here that you need to understand is the bring your own license feature that we have here. Save up to 49% with license you already own using Azure Hybrid Benefit. So what this simply means is that you can bring your on-premises license to the cloud, and then you get to save some money, all right, up to 49%. Okay, honestly, like I did for the database, there's no time. I would just, review and create. Once I do this, it would take the default, okay? The default, there's really no time, guys. I would have loved to, do, I'm gonna save that. You have set RDP port open to the internet. This is only recommended for testing. Yep, I'm fine with that. Validation pass. So if I hit create, it should create a virtual machine for me. All right. It's still deploying. It may take time. For the interest of time, I'm just going to, I probably will come back here later when I want to do another demo. Then I will show you guys how to connect to it. You have to connect, download the RDP and connect just like, you connect using, oh, that was fast. Okay, so we're going to end this one. So you connect to your VM just like any other VM that eventually it will look like your regular, virtual machine, just like what I have here. Okay, it will look like this. Okay. All right, there's no time. I won't wait for it. We'll come back to it later. All right. So please keep your questions. If you have questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. All right.
Do you want us to ask a question now?
No, please.
Oh, sorry.
Right,
Keep your
yeah,
question.
just write your questions down. We'll be able to get to your questions in a minute. Okay. All right. Let me bring my slide back up again. Okay, so Azure Active Directory services. Now, this is not complicated to understand. Active Directory, Azure Active Directory is no different from the Active Directory that you guys, what you know from on-premises. Even the new students amongst us should know what Active Directory is. Active Directory is some kind of system that the infrastructure team uses to manage users and groups, okay? So Azure is no different. You also have Azure Active Directory as well, which the good thing about it is that it has, it's some kind of hybrid service which you can use to manage both on-premises and your Azure. So Azure Active Directory is used to effectively manage users and access to cloud resources, provide single sign-on across your cloud application, access management, and of course, the good part of it is a multi-factor authenticator, different devices, your cell phones, to be able to manage to authenticate yourself, okay, or any user. All right. So we also have Azure Active Directory Domain Services. So what is that? ADDS provides managed domain services such as domain join, group policy, lightweight, directory access protocol, otherwise known as LDAP, and some of you that are used to Kerberos and NTLM authentication. So this guy is doing that for you. You use this domain services without the need to deploy, manage, and patch domain controllers in the cloud. You can lift and shift those legacy applications from your on-premises environment into managed domain without needing to manage the Azure ADDS environment. All right, so that just gives you like a picture of it. But I like to talk about the benefit of ADDS. So one of them is simplified deployment experience. All right, and integrated with Azure AD, use Azure, use your corporate credentials, passwords, NTLM and Kerberos authentication, and of course, high availability. So really, the deployment of ADDS is relatively simple once you have your on-prem Active Directory connected to your AAD using what we call AD Connect. So it takes away the need for you to really deploy your domain controllers in Azure and to ensure that your DCs are different fault and domains or what we call update domains. All right, and it takes care of the DC patching for you. You don't have to deal with that. Another thing about it is that it helps you. It provides an experience that is fully compatible, with subset of features of Active Directory. Of course, depending on your applications, they may keep running in the cloud without any kind of modifications. All right. So this time does not permit me. I would have talked about a few cons of this, disadvantage of this, but for now, I will just move on. And let's talk about Azure Load Balancer because of time. Ooh, man, time is flying. Remember, you guys ate from my time, but I won't eat from the time. I'll try to.
Okay, so what we're going to have 15 minutes break, so we can let you take 10 minutes into the 15 minutes.
Okay.
So we just have a 5 minutes break.
Thank you. Okay, all right. Azure Load Balancer, what is that? So load balancing refers to evenly distributing load, incoming network traffic across a group of back-end resources or servers. I'm going to explain what that means in a minute for you guys to have a better understanding, but let's move on for now. Azure Load Balancer is a layer 4 load balancer that distributes incoming traffic among healthy virtual machines or machine instances. Load Balancer distributes inbound flows that arrive at the load balancer's front end to back-end pool instances. Load balancers uses a hash-based distribution algorithm. Load balancers can either be internet-facing, where it is accessible via public IP addresses, or internal, where it is only accessible from a virtual network. A load balancer helps probe monitors a given port on each VM and only distribute traffic to an operational VM. And then Azure Load Balancer also support network address translation, NAT, to route traffic between public and private IP addresses. Now, let's talk about the concept of load balancer. So really, look at this guy on the screen. Let's take, for example, if you have someone comes into your website, let's use website as application. If you have somebody come into your website and type your domain, www.yourdomain.com or whatever it may be, it will fetch the information needed and returns to the caller, all right? So, but in a situation where there is a rapid growth and website begin to get slow based on the demand. Now, which is something like this, where you have a lot of users coming in and they want to access this website. All right. Now, traditionally, what you want to do, option one, you can get more resources like more CPUs and RAM, which is a traditional solution. All right. Now, there is option for horizontal scaling, which is a better solution. So what is that? So it is more like a situation where you make a copy of the website into more than one machine that are identical, identical to. So as you can see, so this is the same website, but this scaling, it's a concept where the website is duplicated. Okay, you get to duplicate the website, and then of course that websites are identical copies, and you distribute them into 4 virtual machines running on the web application. All right, so that is another solution. Now let's look at this. This is where load balancer really comes in handy. So the load balancer, that's what it is. The load balancer, it basically sits in front of the 4 website, and all the traffic comes through the load balancer, and load balancer equally distribute the load and satisfy the calling clients without them knowing where the data is coming from. Okay, so all of these guys, remember, initially we had just one guy here and he just needed a website, access to website, www.mywebsite.com. Okay, it's easy. But as time goes on, the things begin to go really busy, and there's a need to access information in this website without wasting a lot of time. So now we talked about the concept of the auto scaling, where you can multiply the website into different VMs. So now the Azure Load Balancer really helps you to distribute the workload. Okay, so if one web server goes down, for example, if that happens, if one web server goes down, the load balancer would detect that and redistribute the load, the load generally among the remaining servers. Okay. Now, so see that for any reason something happens to one of this guy right here. So the load balancer has some kind of algorithms, and it checks it every 15 minutes. So it understands that something is wrong with one of this server, and guess what? It will not send anybody to that server. So it will automatically redistribute the workload, and make sure that users are able to still access the information as needed. So like I said, by default, it monitors each machine every 15 minutes to make sure that the machines are responding. All right. And also there's something called sticky sessions. What this simply means is that it's more like a configuration that it's a little rigid. Once a user comes to the load balancer and get the data, it will always use that server. But if that server goes down, the server using that, the user that is using that server will have some kind of access problem. So it's not a very good solution, but there may be a reason for that. It may be, it may require a token, for you to be able to do that, and the token is within that particular server. So there may be a reason why, that particular server is the server that must be used for that particular user. Some financial institution can do something like that. So it's important to understand this other option known as a sticky session, right? So when you do your domain resolution, first thing first, it is the IP address of the load balancer that will come back when users type www.yourdomain.com. So, because, they will be referencing to the public IP or the load balancer. So at that point, there is something called an SSL, secure handshake. So an SSL secure handshake will be going on at the level, and you cannot be switching between servers when the handshake has started, especially if you have a banking website. You can do that. So that may be a good reason for a sticky session. So I just want to be sure that we understand the difference in that. Oh man, I'm running out of time. Let's move on. Let's talk about internal load balancer. Remember, let me go back a little bit. So this is the front end load balancer. There's another concept where we have internal load balancer. What is that? So you could have a service tied to a web server, so that every of the 4 web servers has a specific web service that it talks to. So internal load balancer is used, internal load balancer is used where private IPs are needed at the front end only. Internal load balancers are used to load balance traffic inside a virtual network. I'm going to explain that in a minute. Load balancer front end can be accessed from an on-premises network in a hybrid scenarios. Okay, all right. So really, when we're talking about internal load balancer, just like what we had, the initial configuration is the one where we had sorry, I have to go back like this, where we have the load balancer in front of the VMs, okay? But the benefit of the internal load balancer is that if something happens to this services down here, the load balancer in front will not have the ability to detect that something has happened to the service at the back. So you could have a service type, you could have some kind of situation where you need to quickly identify the service that is down and be able to route the connection to the available services. So the internal service will help you to do that. Okay, so if something happens here, remember we had I could not take a full screenshot. So in front of this, remember this my web service from my previous example, in front of it, there is a load balancer. Now the internal load balancer, the concept of it is that it stays in between the front and the back end service. So it's more like a middle tier that sends signals to the, what is it called? The load balancer in front, okay? So if something happens at the back end, there is no way the load balancer in front will know, okay? So that is the concept of load balancer, and of course, an internal load balancer. There's also what we call application gateway. Azure Application Gateway is a web traffic load balancer that enables you to merge traffic to your web applications. Application gateway can make routing decision based on additional attributes of an HTTP request. For example, you can route traffic based on the incoming URL. This type of routing is known as application layer, OSI layer, load balancing. Azure Application Gateway can do URL-based routing and more. All right, so really, web application firewalls, gateway protocol, from the understanding we already have, it takes the same concept of traditional load balancer, but in this case, it's specific to web application. It's more like a web application firewall. So it protects web application from common web-based attacks like SQL injection. Some of you know about SQL injection. If you know about it, please want to research on that. Some kind of attack from the people go on your website and manipulate your website. I don't want to go into that. Cross-site scripting attacks and sessions hijacks. All right, so it protects against that. Now, it does web-based load balancing. Really, that's what it is. So, so it is done at the layer 7 and is used for HTTPS traffic only. Cookies-based session affinity, the other one, section, secure socket layer offload, and of course, end-to-end SSL. Then you get to enjoy the benefit of decryption and encryption that happens at the gateway. All right. I wish I can have you ask a question as we move on, but I'm going to give you time to be able to ask that question. Maybe the extra time that Micah just gave me, we will use that for the Q&A. Okay. All right. So the next one is traffic manager. Traffic manager. Remember, we're still talking about the concept of load balancers. I'm just going a little bit in depth, and so we understand other levels of load balancing. Okay. Traffic manager is another one. So this helps reduce downtime and improve responsiveness of important applications by routing incoming traffic across multiple deployments in different regions. Traffic manager is another way to improve the performance of your website. Built-in health check and automatic rerouting help ensure high availability if a service fails. Use Traffic Manager to improve application availability with automatic failover. Increase your application responsiveness by routing end users to Azure location with lowest network latency. The Traffic Manager receives a request from a DNS of a user and determines the closest location to that user and route the user to that resource. All right, so I'm going to explain that again. So seamlessly combine on-premises and cloud. In the event of an outage, the Traffic Manager will route the user to the available and healthy server.
I'm so sorry. I'll have to do this. You have 10 minutes more, please. So you have to put time plus your questions and all.
Mickey, you're putting too much pressure on him now. Take it easy.
I know.
Exactly.
But just to keep time management, because Shai doesn't.
I appreciate that, Michael.
Do your job.
Thank you very much.
You're doing the right thing. All right, so usually take a look at this guy right here. So usually the first thing that happens is that a user that sits somewhere in Germany wants to access one of these resources, and we have one of them in one of the resource or one of the data centers in US, another one in Europe. Now, that user will try to access one of them. So what happens is that the Traffic Manager will resolve the DNS and identify where that DNS is coming from, where that user is coming from, and route the user to the closest data center to that user. Now, you only have to do this once. You don't have to do it multiple times. All right. So basically, like I said, this really helps reduce, it kind of reduces, the downtime, and Michael, I'm still thinking about your time, man. Okay, all right. I think Foster was right. You're putting me under pressure. I'm trying to have a lot to talk about, but I don't have time. Okay. Okay. All right. So basically, what happens here is that the user, the traffic manager resolve the DNS where the user is connecting from and route that user to the closest location. All right. Now, the other one that we read talking about in the event of an outage, the traffic manager will route the user to the available and healthy server. Let's say for any reason, something happens to this resource somewhere in Europe, everybody will be routed to the US data center. Okay. That is the concept of, honestly, I have a lot more to explain, but I really don't have time. The concept of traffic management. But I may not even have to finish this. But really, let's talk about another services that Azure provides. It's called Azure Media Services. Now, what is that? In a nutshell, it allows you to upload video content, encoding it in multiple formats at scale. Use industry standard digital right management, on demand and live streaming with an integrated content delivery network, CDN. It is used by media houses. It provides class-based encoding. So really what this is about, it's all about, Azure Media Services is a service that allows you to upload any kind of content like videos, some kind of heavy content like what Netflix, are currently, using, all right? Azure Data Storage, I'm just going to run through it, guys. I'm sorry because of time. Azure Data Storage is another one. Azure Data Storage Platform is a Microsoft Cloud storage solution for modern data storage scenarios. Durable and highly available. So in the sense that the redundancy ensures that your data is safe in the event of transient hardware failures. Of course, it's secure. Your data is secure when you have it in the cloud. You store it in the cloud. All data reaching to an Azure storage account is encrypted by the service. Azure Storage provides you with fine-grained control over who has access to your data. Of course, you enjoy scalability. Azure Storage is designed to be massively scalable to meet the data storage and performance needs of today's application. Managed. Azure handles hardware maintenance, updates, and critical issues for you. You don't have to deal with managing your storage system. Azure does all of that for you. Accessibility. Data in Azure Storage is accessible from anywhere in the world over HTTP or HTTPS. Now we have core storage services. We have Azure Blob, which is a massively scalable object store for text and binary data. It also supports big data analytics via data lake storage. We have Azure Files, which is a managed file shares for cloud or on-premises deployment. Azure Queues is a messaging store for reliable messaging between application components, and Azure Tables. It's a NoSQL store for schemaless storage of structured data. So some of you don't know what NoSQL is. Just like we have structured query language, we have unstructured query language. Like MongoDB is one of them. Time doesn't permit me, I would have gone deeper into some of this. Azure Dix, block level storage volumes for Azure VMs. So each service is accessed through a storage account. I wanted to do a demo here, but I'm going to skip that demo because of time. I just want to give us an idea of some of these services so that we know about them. When you hear about them somewhere at work, during interviews, you will not be completely blank. So for that reason, Michael, please give me another couple of minutes. I'll wrap it up. We'll ask questions within 8 minutes or so. Azure Service Bus. It is a messaging platform that can be used in sending messages within application. That is what it's really about, really. It helps you to manage messaging within your application. And Microsoft Azure Service Bus is fully managed enterprise integration message broker. Service Bus offers a reliable and secure platform for asynchronous transfer of data and state. Namespace, there's some terminology that we need to know as far as Azure Service Bus is concerned. One of them is namespace, and what is that? Namespace is a container for all messaging components. We also have queues that you need to know. So messages are sent to and received from queues. Queues store messages until the receiving application is available to receive and process them. Depending when that happens, all the messages will be stored in queues. Topics. You can also use topics to send and receive messages, while a queue is often used for point-to-point communication. Topics are useful in publish, subscription, or subscribe kind of scenarios when you have, you know, a website where you can publish or people subscribe to your content. All right, that's just a visual representation of it. Honestly, time doesn't permit me. So Azure Data Factory, what this is, if you know about SSIS, SQL Server Integration Services, Azure Data Factory, it's a technology in the cloud that just lift and shift everything you know about SSIS into the cloud. So it basically is a cloud-based data integration service that allows you to create data-driven workflow in the cloud for orchestrating and automating data movement and data transformation. Azure Data Factory does not store any data itself. It also allows you to monitor and manage workflows using both programmatic and UI mechanism. The key component that you must know every time you talk about Azure Data Factory, including interviews, yes, and of course, including when your company is about to use this technology to do some kind of like integration kind of workload, you have to understand this component. One of them is data set. What is data set? Data set basically represents data structures within the data stores. And of course, pipeline. Pipeline is a group of activities. They are used to group activities into a unit that together performs a task. A data factory may have one or more pipelines. Then activities. Activities define the actions to perform on your data. ADF support two types of activities. We have data movement and data transformation. Then link services is just like our traditional link servers that we know about. Is defined to it defines the information needed for data factory to connect to external resources. It acts just like link server. So this is called link services. Azure Site Recovery, I believe, is my last one. Site Recovery is a solution for your disaster recovery. You know, if your company is looking for a cost-effective solution for a disaster recovery, for a business continuity and disaster recovery, you want to definitely consider Azure Site Recovery. Azure Site Recovery is the DR as a service offered by Azure for use in a cloud and an hybrid cloud architecture. Azure Site Recovery offers a low-cost alternative to traditional hosted or sub-provision DR environment. There are no compute, network infrastructure, facility rental, or software licensing fee required during ongoing protection. ASR also has the advantage of being easy to use when replicating Hyper-V, VMware, and physical Windows and Linux server. So in a nutshell, guys, I don't want to go through everything here because of time. This is what it looks like. Azure Site Recovery. When something happens to your on-premises data center, you are able to, with a click of button, fail over to your region 2, which happens to be in the cloud. And it gives you the benefit of you being able to do your test fail over, you know, without necessarily having a downtime. All right, so process to replicate data to the cloud using ASR. Of course, you want to do proper planning. You want to prepare and configure, fail over and fail back to confirm that it works. And at the end of the day, you want to manage, monitor, and troubleshoot if there are any issue. All of these, I would have wanted to explain a lot more for you guys. All right, but hey, because we don't have time, I have to wrap it up. So really, in this session, we talked about platform as a service, which is we learned that it's a complete development and deployment environment in the cloud with resources that enables you to deliver everything from simple cloud-based application to sophisticated cloud-enabled enterprise application. Okay, we also talked about software as a service. We know example of that. It's basically your emails, your Office 365 example of that for software as a service, infrastructure as a service. That is your instant computing infrastructure provision and manage over the internet. All right. Then the serverless, which is some of you may be hearing this for the first time, some of you may know about it. The concept of the serverless is basically the serverless compute automatically pauses databases during inactive period when only a storage is built and automatically resumes database movement or database activities when activity returns. All right. So we also talked about Azure Load Balancer, which of course, I explain what it uses for. Michael, I see you, that's a sign. Okay, Azure Load Balancer, we talked about Azure Media Services, which is a platform that you can, upload videos. Azure Data Storage, your storage in the cloud. Azure Service Bus, which is for your messages. Azure Data Factory, your SSIS in the cloud. Azure Site Recovery, your ultimate cost-effective solution for disaster recovery. All right, woo! That was the fastest and okay. Now questions. I know we are out of time.
Okay, can you please go back to the last slide where you showed out a presentation of what you did, please? Just want to catch that. Yes.
Yep.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Questions, guys? Any question? I know we don't have time. We may have a time for just Q&A, general Q&A, and I'll be more than happy to answer a lot of questions so we don't interrupt the flow. I don't know if you guys have any question. If not, you can hold on and we'll have a session where we can, basically ask a question. But I'm seeing a few here. I can't enable mine. I am at work. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. You have 20 minutes left. Okay. My question, does platform as a service create Azure storage account during migration of data and resources to Azure? You have to create your storage. Storage is a service on its own, okay? However, the platform as a service will manage your initial resources for you, your databases. You can see them, you can manage them, move it around, put it in an elastic pool, whatever it is you're doing, but you have to create a storage. My question does, okay, I think that's the only question I see here. Any other?
Can I chip in, please?
Yes, sir.
That was great. That was awesome, Moses. Thank you very much. Just because of time, I know I'm going to be a bone in all the speakers today.
It's okay.
So please forgive me in advance. So what I'm going to say is that during lunch, please write your questions down. All right. Please bear with us. During lunchtime, which is going to be like 45 minutes, we can have interaction. It's going to be interactive, like Moses said. Put on your cameras, and then those questions that you're writing down, you can ask them during that lunchtime where everybody's going to be more relaxed while we're eating. We can still talk and so on and so forth. So not to eat into the time of the next speaker, please.
Yep, I agree, Michael. All right, guys, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. See you in the next session with whoever the speaker is. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Moses.
Thank you,
That was
thank
a
you,
good
thank you,
presentation.
thank you.